Hey y'all, I have a real quick tip on prepping and finishing paintings, specifically wood rounds. So question I get asked a lot is, how do you display your art? How do you finish the back? How do you price it? Those kinds of things. How do you hang it on your display rack at a show? Those kinds of things. So in a previous tip, I mentioned that I prep all my canvases, my wood surfaces with Zinsser. So after I do that and it's dry, and I only do one side and I do the sides. The back I leave blank, but before I paint, I cover it. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a covering on here. I know a lot of people take painter's tape and just literally cover the entire surface with painter's tape. To me, that takes a lot of time and a lot of money. Painter's tape isn't cheap. So I wanted to show you what I do. I buy this Easy Liner. It's essentially contact paper. Comes in a pretty good size roll, and I cut it into diameters of my wood circles, and I've also done some wood squares, so then I would cut it in a square pattern, and I put it on the back. And when I paint, obviously you can see how much paint got on that surface, right? And then once the paint's dry, after you set it to dry, and once it's all dry on the front, and then I immediately take that off, and it's really simple. It really just peels right off, just like this. And you have a very clean surface, right? I'll bring that up to the camera so you can see that. You can see how nice and clean that is. And then a while back, Walmart had paint on clearance, and I bought several containers of exterior one coat white paint. So what I do for the back is I paint it white. I usually put, I'm gonna set this aside real quick. I usually put 1 to 2 coats, sometimes 3, depending on, how much paint is on the back, that kind of thing. But typically two coats of the exterior. It dries really fast. So then it'll look like this. It'll look nice and finished on the back. You see that? And then I have a stamp for my business. I stamp it, and then actually I don't stamp it until after I finish the top coat. So I'll do all the top coat, and then on the last application of my top coat, after that, then I will stamp it and date it. And the date is the day of the last coat, because this top coat that I use, Bright Tone, it cures in 30 days just like resin. And then I've also had people ask, how do you sell your items like coasters and such when you haven't reached 30 days? So I have a little card that I put with it that has the cure date, the full cure date, if it's not up to the 30 days yet, and it has care instructions on how to be gentle with it and such prior to the final cure date. And then the very last thing I do before it's complete is I attach the hardware, and I use these D-rings a lot. I get them in bulk from Amazon. I also have the I think they call them sawtooth hangers. They have like the little jagged bottoms and 2 screws, 1 on each side. I use those mostly for canvas, especially if it's a large canvas that needs 2 of them. I'll use those. I also buy those in bulk from Amazon. And then I make up my own tags. I print and cut them. Have my business information on the front, and then I number. I keep an inventory of my art. Every one of them has a number, and then I put the price on it. And that's how I finish it from start to finish. For canvas, I know there's been quite a few comments in some of the Facebook groups, how do you protect the back of your canvases? So what I do is, and I'm getting ready to paint on these triangles, but I only use this green painter's tape, only. I've heard, you know, some folks say, you know, they got painter's tape on the back, now they can't get it off, especially if you're resin. I know that probably happens a lot, but this green painter's tape to me is absolutely perfect for the back of canvases. It goes on super easy. It's like the perfect width, and I think I got this one at Rural King. I've gotten it at Ollie's, but the green wide, it's a lot cheaper if you don't buy like the, can't remember what the brand is, duct tape, that is the really expensive painter's tape. It's like $7 or $8 a roll. I think this was like $3, and this will last me forever. But yeah, I usually just cover all the corners because I do not paint the back of my paintings. Once I take this tape off, I'm done. Now the exception is, and I don't have the example, I have it out in the living room, but on my gallery wrap canvases, there's a lot more wood on the back, and if there's a lot of paint marks and stuff on the back, especially if I'm using black paint, I find that it looks a little messy, and in those cases I will absolutely take that black paint and cover that back. And also, you know, if my wood circle base is black, then I cover the back of it with black paint, not white. If it's split, I usually use the white exterior. So yeah, so those are just a few tips and guidelines. I mean, obviously everybody has a different way of doing their art and finishing their art, pricing their art, hanging their art. But I wanted to share with you, you know, just what I worked out for myself. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. If you haven't watched my other videos on beginner tips and advice for new pouring beginners, please check those out. I'll link them in the description box. This is the third video I've done to kind of help with some tips for anyone that's looking for any information. All right, thanks, and catch you on the next video.